All right, welcome back to the program. We're watching M Live NTV. We're still here on the Daily Nation. Let's wind up on this issue here. Blow to Azimio's tribunal suspends Senate changes, which means that the minority whip Fatuma Dulo will continue serving in that position because that matter is before the political parties tribunal, and the directions will be given on the 28th of February this month. Yesterday, Deputy Speaker Kathure Murungi said he would respect the orders of the tribunal, prompting a walkout by some of the Azimio senators who said he had planned to communicate the changes until the office of the Speaker was served with the orders yesterday afternoon. Senator Sigei, you know, earlier on before we went on a break, Senator Osotsi spoke about open bias by the Speaker with regard to this matter. But what does that mean for the House business, you know, with the Azimio senators saying, look, we want the leader we want within the Senate, the whip, but you can't impose a leader on us?
Thank you, Zainab. I actually don't agree with my colleague when he says there was open bias. Unfortunately, I was not in the House yesterday. Right. I was engaged outside and I didn't participate in the proceedings. However, I got an opportunity to go through the session after and, of course, even get to read the order that was served upon the office of the Speaker from the political parties dispute tribunal. And the standing orders, by the way, Zainab, says that the Speaker is supposed to be blind. He's blind in what sense? He doesn't see that Osotsi is from Azimio and Sigei is from Kenya Kwanza. He's blind because he's guided by the law to be a very neutral umpire in the House, such that a reference to him being biased is in itself misplaced. Number two, we have been through this road before. Well, before I was a senator, I have been through this situation where the Speaker is expected to communicate certain communication from either party. I was involved in the removal of the then majority leader, Kipchumba Murkomen, in court. I obtained several court orders which were never complied with at that time. So the reference to Duale, Murkomen, and who else? I think Kangata, governor of then removed from various leadership positions in the Senate, was then a practice of that time. We have made to, because I've seen the majority leader yesterday, while debating in the floor of the House, made reference to the National Assembly having complied to the court order that stopped it from vetting the CSs. And he was saying, look, a precedent has been set. But interestingly, and in this particular case of yesterday, you will notice that the Honorable Senator Dulo sued the Speaker of the Senate and Azimio, such that however much, because I'm a big proponent of the independence of institution, Parliament ought to be very independent. It has to be independent. That one we can't compromise about. However, the order came to the Speaker. The standing orders requires the Speaker to communicate. Now, the order says you cannot communicate because this matter has already been placed before the court. And that court, by the way, whether or not it has jurisdiction, must be respected. Remember,
but what powers of mandate does the political parties disputes tribunal have with regards to proceedings in Parliament?
Remember, this one was not an issue that has now been argued. What will actually happen, Zainab, now when it comes to the other party going and indicating to the court that, you know what, this was already a matter that had been debated in the floor of the House, that will now be an opportunity for the tribunal to weigh in between the two issues. But then at this stage, it was an ex parte order. The Honorable Senator went in, said that, look, as at the time of the Speaker being expected to communicate, Azimio wrote to the Speaker announcing or declaring the changes. Right. She also wrote saying that, look, I am the one in office. I haven't been given an opportunity to defend myself. If there is an issue with the coalition partners, remember Azimio has partners in Jubilee, ODM, and other parties. So she said, because this is what happened last week, she said that, look, there is a dispute already. We have not officially moved out of Azimio. There is a coalition agreement that provides on how to exit. If we are to exit, it's not at that time. And therefore, if there are changes to be done, it is premature because if I must be removed, there is a procedure that must be followed. Those were the arguments that we had last week. Yesterday was now a communication from the court saying that, look, this is what has come before me. stop these changes. I'm injuncting the Speaker from making this communication until such a time we had all the parties. And therefore, it is really not that the Speaker was biased. He was complying. I wanted to say something about the Kenya Kwanza government. Remember the first statement that the President made immediately after he came in was to say, I will leave institutions to be independent, to run without interference. The second day was swearing in of the judges who had not been sworn in for a very long time. This will definitely be a continuation. But that's not how
members of the Azimio team
Zainab,
are reading that.
Allow me to conclude.
Okay,
this will be a continuation of letting these institutions operate independently. Once now on the 28th, because I've seen that the matter will be coming back before
on the 28th. That's next week.
Yes. Once now the two parties appears, that will be a point where we can have a conversation about who is where and how does the law apply to the extent of the communication and the compliance and the independence of Parliament vis-a-vis the judiciary, vis-a-vis the executive.
Okay.
Remember, Justice Zainab is, I'll give you the analogy of the naked boy in Supreme Court, the story of Alex Hamilton. That naked boy who's holding a fish here and water running. Justice is meant to be naked. Justice is meant to be fearless. In fact, the reason as to why that boy is naked is because it's meant to depict a fearless sort of justice. It cuts both ways. A child, naturally. Why is it that it's not an old man or an old woman used in that statute? It's because the child is fearless, innocent, it's naked, cuts both ways, and above all, it serves everyone else. Okay. That is the statute, that is the justice that will be
so let's, then we get to, Mheshimiwa.
Zainab, you know my colleague Senator Sigei is a very good lawyer and very experienced on matters of political party disputes. But I want to disagree with him that the Speaker is blind. The Speaker that we have now is not blind to matters of political parties. Because if the Speaker was blind, he would have communicated the decision of the minority
last week
by just following the standing orders, because the standing orders are very clear. All you need is a communication from the party. You need minutes of the meeting, PG meeting, and you need the minority leader just to communicate to you.
But there are two meetings. I have to interrupt you. Sorry.
Just a moment. Just a moment. There were no two meetings.
No, two communications, not meetings. Two letters went to the Speaker.
Yeah.
So
letter,
there were two letters, two communications?
There's a letter from the Honorable Senator Ledama, and there was a letter from now Dulo saying, look, we can't.
No. Dulo was a victim in this case. She cannot write a letter to you and you take it as a letter. So I think the Speaker is playing politics.
So what, you're reading political interference in this whole process?
And by the way, this is a problem of the speakers we have. Because the speakers that we have now are supposed to be impartial, they are supposed to be independent, and they are supposed to be objective. The speakers we have now are still holding active party leadership in their parties. Our Speaker in the Senate is still the party leader of PA, which is a member of the...
I think he relinquished that position.
No, he went back and gazetted his name. We have the evidence.
I have to confirm that.
He went back and gazetted his name. Honorable Wetangula is still the party leader of Ford Kenya.
But we do know that he relinquished that position as well.
Not yet, not yet. And this is a problem. And these parties are members of Kenya Kwanza coalition.
Okay, let's hear from...
we have a situation where we have speakers who are not impartial, speakers who are not objective, and this is a conversation we are going to have very soon. And that is why I'm rejecting the view that the Speaker is blind. The Speaker that we have in the Senate is not blind, and we are going to expose that in due course. Because now this is now politics. It's no longer legal, it's now politics.
All right. Let's hear from Mheshimiwa Elachi. Do you read political interference in that process, or actually the Speaker is blind in this context?
Let me not talk about the blindness, because if they are
you have been a speaker.
Yes, I've been a speaker.
Yes. Right.
So there's no blindness. There's the way you... By the way, even if... and I would wish, I don't want to speak for the Senate. You know, one of the things when I look at my Speaker, Wetangula, first of all, the experience of being in Parliament for all those years gives him leverage in terms of understanding that whether you won't even know he's a party leader. You'll have to take a while because he will just look at the law and use the law. And I'll say, and this is just for women to feel it, not in a bad way. I just want to congratulate the men. And we are talking about women now in leadership. How we can now come and decide, which is good. Because have you ever, you have not seen women fighting and when you occupy a space and being very affirm of it. I'm just saying that knowing, yes, there are legal issues, fine.
Right.
But for purposes of just making that history, that indeed we are here. And now the Senate is talking about a woman leader, which is sometimes good because we've always been talking about them. They fight, they do everything. Let us also fight for that space. We'll see how it goes. That is because of women. And I want to be very clear so that my senator in Azimio does not say, like, no, I'm just talking now as a very objective. But now let me come to the real issues. You see, I don't know, in Senate, I think it was very clear. That is why maybe you have a ruling that is very clear that you know you are a minority in the House as Azimio, and you appreciate and you move on. In the National Assembly, and this is something that I know, when it comes to the National Assembly, you'll see how it will work. It's going to be a bit different, and we will be very angry, but it will be unfortunate because the Speaker will remind us on his ruling, which I went one time on one of the media houses, I really contested. And I said, that ruling of Speaker was not a right ruling. Little did I know we will come now to these issues.
Right.
Now it's going to affect us. Because in the House, when we were looking for the majority and minority side, because of the many conflicts, you see these things of bringing letters, and I wish we could have, sometimes when I say this, I find myself in a lot of conflict, but I always say, let me be very objective sometimes in some of these things. But I know I always find myself in a lot of conflict with members who think, why have you said that? But because now it's coming to affect us again, that at that time, after he dispensed on the coalition's agreement, and after giving that ruling, he decided to say that in this House, we don't have members of Azimio because we are a coalition of parties. And so he returned, by the time he was doing his ruling, he said, UDA is a majority party, ODM is a minority party. You see, he broke us into parties. So in the National Assembly, we're going to find it very difficult to come again and fight it and say it is Azimio, because he will remind us the ruling. And you see, he was very smart. People were very emotional. We forgot to put him on stand at that time in the House through just using the floor of the House to rectify. So I know the leadership tried when they realized it's not, and we walked out. Fine. After walking out, now it is coming to bite us. Because by the time we want to remove on our side those who are in leadership, the Speaker will use that same ruling. And he will say, we agreed on this. And the biggest mistake we did was to allow our parties to bring their leadership through their different party letters. You see now, when you are bringing the leadership, you say this one is ODM.
Now we're fixed. It's a political quagmire now.
This one is Jubilee. So the Jubilee party will bring their letter. And in fact, they brought two. Then it brought confusion. Even in the Yala thing, that is how it brought all these issues. So it is something also, I'm not talking about Senate, we need to make it neat. We need to agree if indeed we are a coalition within Parliament. But now, as I say, he will stick on his ruling because he also knows he cannot change his ruling now. It's already on the Hansard, everything is there. So it's unfortunate.
All right, and look,
it's unfortunate.
This is just a symptom of a really big issue.
Yeah.
Because there's when we're looking at the Azimio One Kenya coalition at this point, there's already a split within, the coalition. Just earlier we had a story there of the Jubilee Secretary General, Jeremiah Kioni. I don't know if you can get that story there just to give context to this report. Jeremiah Kioni saying he vowed to kick out those rebel legislators called Rebel, who vowed, shifted their allegiance to Kenya Kwanza. Kioni saying Jubilee Party will hold a national delegates conference in March where disciplinary measures will be taken against those legislators. But then you have Kanini Kega, who is, on the other hand, proclaimed, as the acting, Secretary General. So then where does that leave the Azimio coalition? Let's take a look at that report. We'll be back.
The protracted leadership wrangles in the Jubilee Party are far from over. A recent decision by Kenya Kwanza-friendly Jubilee legislators to suspend Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has been countered in similar fashion. Kioni, who has been given a lifeline in office by the High Court, has now vowed to initiate proceedings to kick out the rebel legislators during the planned National Delegates Conference slated for March.
Of course, if there are people who are disruptive, they will be kicked out by an NDC. But a party functioning properly, those are members who have been kicked out through other processes way before.
But speaking to NTV on phone, East Africa Legislative Assembly MP Kanini Kega has laughed off the threats, stating, quote, "We are not going to prosecute the matter through the media until the court pronounces itself on the matter. But I can assure you that those who are planning the delegates conference will be out of office before the conference takes place." In his response, Kioni appeared ready to let fate have its way.
That doesn't worry me. I mean, mine is not to die holding on to an office. So it is not that we must be in office. Another person can come into office and carry on.
The Jubilee wrangles have seen Jubilee Party leader Uhuru Kenyatta accused by nominated MP Sabina Chege of employing a hands-off approach on matters party leadership.
Hata kama nimewacha siasa active, mimi bado ni mfuasi wa nani?
There are claims that President Ruto has taken advantage of the leadership vacuum in Jubilee to wrestle the party from Uhuru's grasp.
People imagined that when they don't hear the president speaking, they can do things in the manner in whichever way they think. But it's good to let them know that the party leader is very present in the party.
Besides the leadership wrangles, the Azimio Brigade has been accused of using the anti-government rallies as a means to push for another handshake. Already, Azimio's top leaders have been seen urging Raila not to take that route.
Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, mimi kama jeshi yako, ukienda mambo ya handshake utaenda peke yako.
You see, when you push this kind of an agenda with the mind of a handshake, again you lose the people.
The Political Parties Disputes Tribunal will on 24th of February make a ruling on whether Kioni stands ousted as Jubilee Party Secretary General or not. Sydney Chazima, NTV.
Well, that's just one part of the political dynamics playing within the Azimio coalition. But one interesting thing, and it's actually on the Standard, is you have a section of the legislators within Jubilee Party who support Jeremiah Kioni as his SG, saying that this is the president's attempt to take over not just Jubilee Party, but attempting to buy, there's that word buy, members of parliament affiliated to the Azimio coalition. Let me speak to you, Senator Sotsi, on this matter. What does that mean for the Azimio coalition? When you're talking about those legislators that went to State House and now some of them being kicked out of House leadership, and then you have the issue of the Jubilee Party as well, ODM members of parliament also facing criticism on the same. What does that mean for the coalition? Does it still stand?
It's another contradiction of the President
William Ruto. How so? And he's not involved in the opposition.
And his Kenya Kwanza government. Because you remember he said he wants a strong opposition. And that he will do everything to make sure that Kenya has a strong opposition. But that's not what he's doing. He's busy poaching members from the opposition, the government side. He's busy sponsoring rebellion in Jubilee. And what better illustration to demonstrate that the William Ruto, I don't want to refer to him as a president.
But by law, this is the president of Kenya, and on the other hand, you have members
depends,
of parliament
in
who
my
have a democratic right to choose.
In my eyes, I don't want to refer to him as a president.
It really doesn't
because of the position we have taken. So the point is that we saw very clearly in State House William Ruto talking to Jubilee MPs, and he even said, he is on record to have said that you are now our members, meaning that those members have joined Kenya Kwanza. We know what he's doing in terms of sponsoring Kanini Kega and Sabina group to fight, engage in these wars within Jubilee. But what I can tell you is that we have said within Azimio, the fewer the better. That is a position that we took during our PG in Machakos the other day, that the irritants will have their way. They will go to State House. They will fight the party from within. But we are not bothered by the irritants. We are bothered about the bigger picture of what we are pushing for. A better governance. We know there are challenges of cost of living, the challenges of public debt, and Kenyans are suffering. The other day, was it in yesterday's Business Daily, there was a story about Kenyans unable to afford toilet papers. We have reached that stage where even basic things like toilet papers we cannot afford. So we really have serious problems. Issues of electoral justice, which we are addressing. And these are matters that we are engaging the public on in our rallies, and we will continue doing that as we deal with the irritants who are there. And you have seen that...
which falls within their own democratic right to say...
Because
one of the argument is, of course, look, we, as you know, we're having this conversation with the president because, you know, we're talking about development in our regions, in our constituencies.
What development? You have just heard the deputy president say that Kenya is a company of two communities.
We'll have that bite in a moment.
Yeah, let me finish the point. He said that Kenya is a company of two communities. So if you are from Western region...
did he say two communities?
He said in his illustration clearly, you could see that. He was speaking in Kericho.
I was in that event.
You were in that meeting.
And he said that
I'll say something about it.
Are owners of this, this government. And we have seen that in appointments. Clearly you can see the appointments are being made by this regime, clearly favoring two communities. So if you come from Western region or Nyanza, and they lie to you that they are going to give you development, and then they give you 100,000 shillings, and then you take a photo, that's the end of it. These guys are specializing in photo taking. It's not about development, because the process of development is known. It is the legislators who carry out budget making process. And at that point is when they are supposed to factor in development programs. We cannot have a situation where that you are a Kenyan who is a taxpayer. If you want development, you have to go and beg for development in State House to get it. You have powers as a legislator to push for development within the House. So this lie that we went there for development is not development. It is something else. And in any case, do they have money for development? Does this regime have money for development?
We will have
they don't have.
To find out.
They don't have. They are not able even to finance CDF. Honorable Elachi here is a member of parliament for Dagoretti and knows this. Why can they start from there? Put money into CDF, let our children be given bursaries, let our schools be equipped with infrastructure. Those are the very, very important things that we want to see this regime doing, rather than parading members of parliament for photo sessions in State House and say that now Azimio is crashing because 1 or 2 rogue members have appeared in a photo session in State House. We, as a coalition, we are getting stronger and stronger by the day.
Okay. Look, you mentioned about something there, which was that statement by the Deputy President over the weekend. Raila Odinga, the Azimio coalition leader, actually responded to some of those issues yesterday. I want us to take a look at that bite where the leader of the opposition, Raila Odinga, he was attending a burial in Kitui, said the government has no national outlook. He said the government was tribal-based and, you know, seemingly giving their rebuttal on the sentiments made by the Deputy President that Kenya is a company and only those who invested in the company's shares are eligible to reap the rewards of loyalty ahead of everyone else. Just let's listen in and know we'll be back.
Sisi lazima tungeangalia nyinyi. Hii serikali ni kampuni na ni ya shares. Si ndio? Ni ya shares. Kuna wenye kampuni, wale wako na shares mingi, kuna wale wako na chache, kuna wale hawana. Sasa nyinyi mliinvest kwa hii kampuni ya William Ruto na Rigathi Gachagua. Sasa lazima mvune. Yule ambaye alipanda atafanya nini? Simulipanda? Simuliamuka mapema? Mukasema mutaki kusikia mambo ya ile system na nini? Muka invest, mukapanda, mukapalilia, mukaweka mbolea, mukamwagilia maji, wakati ya kuvuna ndio huu.
Ati sisi wale ambao walipiga kura ndio watakuwa mbele huko. Na sio ni kama mzaha wanafanya namna hiyo. Ukiangalia baraza ya mawaziri wameweka wakamba wawili. Walaya si wawili. Mjaluo moja. Pwani wawili. Kule kwa kabila moja watu 5. Wengine watu 9. Yani kwa baraza ya mawaziri ya watu 24, 14 kutoka kwa kabila mbili.
Well, that statement certainly has elicited quite a reaction across the political divide, especially from within the Azimio coalition. I'll begin with you, Senator Sige. You were there in that meeting where the Deputy President spoke on those matters, saying, look, those who invested in us will get more shares in the government, you know, likening the government to a company. That is certainly, you know, what the leader of the Azimio coalition, Raila Odinga, says is divisive and not fair.
Very well.
Is that a fair charge?
Allow me to comment on something before I get into that, because okay. I'll speak to it as well. I'm so saddened when my colleague demeans his colleagues who went to State House as people who are going for photo sessions and 100 shillings. He actually even didn't say, he said 100 shillings. It's so demeaning of 100,000, sorry, yes. It's so demeaning of a honorable member of parliament or senate who's had a session with the head of state to discuss serious issues about the people they represent, to just be referenced the way he has done. It's very wrong. It is very, very wrong.
Is that something that you've heard from one of the members of parliament?
They have told us.
Okay.
My colleague has been through these party politics. Remember, he was a member of ANC and he went all the way to Supreme Court with his party leader. To Supreme Court. I participated. He set us a lot of precedents in party loyalty and also how to deal with party issues. He cannot then feign, you know, what he's saying about what is happening. So, as regards the members of parliament or the senators who, or the governors, by the way, who were having sessions with the president and discussing matters development and how they can enhance support for their people.
Right.
It is not about what we would say you only can get development in your area or your region even when you go and have tea and a photo and a discussion with the president. The Constitution of Kenya permits and mandates the government of the day to serve every Kenyan, notwithstanding how they voted, whether they voted for Kenya Kwanza or the competitor of Kenya Kwanza. That one is given. That is why CDF is for everyone. That is why the revenue that is being allocated by the Senate from the national government is for all the 47 counties, depending on CRA proposals. So we really cannot say you can get development only if you are supporting the government of the day. We are entitled as Kenyans. And therefore, it is not true,
excuse me,
as he says. The unfortunate thing is that the opposition is disorganized. And it's not our business as Kenya Kwanza to organize them. In fact, the best we can do is to push the disorganization to a higher level, because it's not the business of the government of the day to organize the opposition. When the president says, I want a very robust and strong opposition, it is not his business to say, I must therefore go, sit down, organize them, plan them, fund them, advise them. No.
But you have the leadership of the Azimio team. On Sunday, Kalonzo Musyoka, yes, the Wiper leader, said the president is creating discord within the Azimio coalition by, you know, what they're saying, buying some of these legislators.
It is not the president's business to organize them. If an MP, a member of parliament, who is an elected leader, by the way, by thousands and thousands of Kenyans, reaches out to the head of state, remember, he's the president for all of us, not for Kenya Kwanza, not for Azimio, not for those who voted for him. He's for everyone else. He cannot send them away. So it is very wrong for the Honorable Osotsi to demean those other leaders. Allow them to go and look for support and development for their people. Secondly, let me respond to that statement by the Deputy President.
All right.
And as I said, I was actually in that meeting in Kericho. That was during the homecoming of the Principal Secretary for Water.
That was on Saturday.
On Saturday, yes. And one of the things that we must agree is that the Deputy President, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, is a student of literature. And therefore, I would be listening to his conversation, what he says, and when I am not a literature student, I wouldn't understand whether the statement, the message that he is sharing is an idiom, or is a normal cliche, or is a binomial reference of some sort. That is his language of speech.
But
remember,
how many Kenyans
2 days, Zainab, 2 days before, allow me to say, 2 days before that meeting, he was hosting leaders from Kisii. And the statement he said was that this is a government that will respect all Kenyans and serve all Kenyans. And when we come and sit down as a leadership, we are sitting down as a leadership who have been elected across by our respective people in our regions. Our politics, remember, is very local. And therefore, we might have to say, for you to understand what the Honorable Deputy President made or referenced in his speech, you must go and have a sitting with him for you to be able to say that this is what he meant, because that is his speech. That is how he speaks. That would be my take on that speech.
Okay. Let me just get a last sentence. I'll come back to you.
Because now it has become a Senate matter.
Yeah, but also very quickly, also as you respond to that, yes, he says that, you know, the way the Deputy President speaks is more of like literature. But how many Kenyans will sit to, you know, try and interpret, you know, what the Deputy President is saying?
Let me just start with, in very few minutes, to deal with first the Jubilee matter.
Okay.
And I just want to say, you see, one of the things I would want to tell the Jubilee people, building a party is not an easy thing. Because I know they have been used to so much. People just build and then they come in and they think. Now they need to rethink. And the worst they did, or the worst was, the moment your deputy party leader and the chairman of the party sits into a meeting. And that is why the political party registrar allowed the minutes. Why? Because your own officials went to that meeting. So it's a very long, tall thing. They have to rethink and just look at it properly. Having said that, and my former president should also now become hands-on. I know it's his weakest link.
Is it concerning that the president, the former president, I beg your pardon, Uhuru Kenyatta,
he's the party leader,
has sort of not been,
he is the party leader,
has not spoken about this matters, is kept away from speaking on this issue?
No, that one he won't. It is his weakest link, very weakest link, which is very unfortunate. Right. That is what pushed the party down, and again, so he has to now decide, if you're a party leader, put hands on, be available for the members, and so that when they go rogue, you are able yourself as a party leader to just whip them. Yes, but having said that, now let us come to this, what I'll say, you know, as a woman, let me speak as a woman. Sometimes there are words when politicians, you know, when we get the mic, we are taken into another world until by the time you're finishing to speak, you ask yourself, what did I just say? So that is the challenge with all politicians, by the way. But it is very dangerous when you, there are some words when you say, it becomes a bit sad.
Right.
Yes. Those words were not very kind words to the country, Kenya, and even to the president, by the way. We put him into a very awkward situation. And you put the country into the worst situation when, and I want to ask and really plead, can we try as leaders of this country to bring Kenya closer to each other than dividing us completely and pushing us very far? That will be my plea. That all of us leaders, it is our duty in whatever we are doing. And that is why even in Azimio, even as we do the rallies, you will hear Kalonzo Musyoka, His Excellency, the former Vice President, starts always, we must do it with decorum, we must do it with peace. We must remember to unite the country. And I remember where we went to church in Embakasi East, the bishop, he was very clear. And he told us, go and put this country together. Do not split Kenya. And I would plead even up to now, let us not try in either side to bring Kenya into a division that we will regret, all of us. And one of the things I learned in everything that we did, even in 2007, you see, politicians, we start processes.
Okay.
We reach a point when it becomes very heavy, you will lose out, and let me tell you, it will be taken over the same way Kion is saying, and the same way my governor, former Oparanya, is saying, it will be taken by Wananchi. All of us will come to ask ourselves questions. We will be responsible. And so any word that can divide Kenya, please let us stop. Let us stop dividing ourselves. Let us stop calling Kenya shares. There's no shares in Kenya. There's no shares.
Well,
it is a country, a unitary country called Kenya, where every tribe, and with the new constitution, every tribe belongs. And that is why we have counties.
Okay.
And if we start that, you can find the country going into a very tough direction. Yet, all of us want the economy to grow. That is why we are headed to Jivanji, to pray for the country, not to play politics, to pray for the country.
Okay.
And to see and to seek God, so that it does not feel that, oh, no, it is prayer, and prayer is one.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, a praying nation. Look, let me get you said in a moment.
To pray. By the way, I see Kenyans joking, saying praying nation. Yes. This country, why we are still together, we have women and men who have never come out here, who never speak, who don't even have food, but go to the mountains. You will find them when you are going also to pray, praying for this. They don't pray to get money. The only thing I have a problem with some of the prayers and some of our bishops, and I am, forgive me because I believe, is that you do not pray to please. Pray to God. And I want to tell the president that you must open yourself a prayer room in State House. As the president of this nation, pray for Kenya yourself. Don't go again in these things of prayer. Go to State House, pray for Kenya. From there, the country will move. Okay. You bring in these people who have all ideas in their mind, and one wants to please you to see how he prays better than the other. God will not answer. God will even be more angry with us.
Okay.
Yes. Zainab, allow me 1 second to just tell her that there is a room in State House for prayers.
Can the president use it?
Thank you that the team from the other side are also agreeing with Kenya Kwanza that we shall continue praying for this country.
Oh, look, we have to take a break. Let's take a very quick break here on M-Live. We're going to come back and then we'll continue with this conversation.
Every person in this country. Before I came to this studio, I have prayed for my nation.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have prayed for my nation.
And that's a good thing. Look,
and it should not become a political tool also. That is why we are praying, and the answers are
It's raining offers with Royal Mabati Factory. Get box profile from Kenya shillings 460 per meter. Roman tile from Kenya shillings 520 per meter. Stone coated at Kenya shillings 600 and trusses at 220 per kgs. We have Lipa Pole Pole option. Only pay 50% deposit and the balance on delivery schedule. Place your orders today and enjoy 72 hours free countrywide delivery. Call us on 0722 638383 to place your order. Plenty of stocks available.
Centum Real Estate brings to you 265 Elma 1 Apartments, the newest and most stylish development in Kasarani. Pay a deposit of 250,000 Kenya shillings and the balance in flexible installments or mortgage financed.
It's finally here. We came calling and you responded resoundingly. On the 28th February, grab your copy of the Business Daily. Get to know and witness the greatness of these amazing 40 women, the top 40 under 40 women winners. Find out the trailblazing 40 women in various positions within the society and their roles in steering the nation forward. It's a Queen's affair. Business Daily. More possibilities.
Our mission is to provide affordable and quality housing.
Our spatial layout enhances our vision statement, that is creating spaces and places to enhance people's life.
We observe British Standard Building Code straight from design all the way to construction.
Lifestyle Estates decided to venture into off-plan projects because of the feedback that we are getting from customers.
They used to send us videos of what the progress has been. Plus also in between you can also walk in and go with their sales team to the project and they'll take you around and show you what's happening.
We are honest to the customers. We tell them as it is and we've been able to do that very well.
Well, like I said, I decided to give them away.
But why did you give them away, Jenny? Who gave you permission? Why did you interfere?
Because our things were just all over the place, Father, and a homeless person passed by.
Even if a homeless woman passed by or not, you had no right.
Okay, Father, you have to be practical. No one's going to come by to claim her things.
Now leave, because you and I have nothing more to talk about.
Of course we have things to talk about, and that is my daughter.
I really hope this isn't another one of your tricks, because I don't feel
I never manipulated anyone, but you know, I don't want to argue with you about the same thing, so just sit down.
It had to be you.
Equity PayPal withdrawal service is now available on Equity mobile app and Equity online. To link your PayPal account, download the Equity mobile app from Play Store or App Store or log on to Equity online on equityonline.equitygroupholdings.com to get started.
Kati ya watakaofutwa machozi na mimi nimechaguliwa.
The ministry mantle has been passed on to the youth.
Yes, but the question we are asking is, are they ready? Are they willing? Or are they even equipped?
That's right. Join the conversation this Sunday alongside our superb guests.
Yes, remember, this starting from 11:30 to 1 p.m. only on NTV. And this is Crossover.
Bila Yesu haiwezi.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching AM Live on NTV, and of course we're continuing our conversation on some of the political developments in the country. We were supposed to also be joined in this panel by Kimani Kuria, who is the Molo Member of Parliament. He sent his apologies. He says he will not be able to make it for this conversation, but we still do have a great panel here in studio just to converse around some of these matters. I'll get to you, Senator Osotsi. I know you were quite rattled by some of the things that Senator Sigei mentioned, and you wanted to respond to some of those issues, including the issue of, you know, the president, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and his hands-off approach as well on the issue of the Jubilee crisis that is already rocking that political party. What are some of your, you know, sentiments as well? Response.
Well, I'm not a Jubilee member.
Right.
I'm an ODM member. But from my experience, I think it's going to be a very tough battle, particularly for the rebels. Because as it is now, Kioni is still the substantive Secretary General, based on the orders that were given by the tribunal. And I have looked at the Jubilee Constitution, which clearly stipulates that the meetings, like the NEC meeting, is convened by the Secretary General. So they're going to have a tall order navigating that, even though they have Joshua Kotuni as the Deputy Secretary General. The Deputy Secretary General gets authority from the Secretary General. He cannot convene meetings without directives from the Secretary General. So they are really going to have it tough, even as they navigate the court processes. And in between, nothing stops the Secretary General from convening the NDC, where, you know, NDC in every political party is a supreme organ.
But we'll have to see how that shapes out.
So it's going to be a protracted battle.
Right.
But
we also still have members within the ODM who've also been termed as rebel.
Well, ODM issue is, I think, is exaggerated. I know those members, and I know what is happening. You know, as they have specialized in poaching members, we have decided to go to the people directly. We are engaging the masses directly, even as they engage in buying members of parliament and all that. And that is where the difference is. We were in Kisumu, and when the crowd was asked whether they are the ones who sent those members of parliament to State House, the crowd reacted in the negative. So I think we are going to see a situation where the members of parliament who are seen to be rebels within ODM, with the time, that will wither. Already one member of parliament, Walter Owino, has come back to the fold. So slowly by slowly you will see them coming back because of the pressure on the ground. But I can tell you that the strategy of buying out members of parliament on Azimio is a very weak strategy. If I was advising Kenya Kwanza, I would advise them not to take that route. Because it's not sustainable. You have seen some of the members who have gone to the State House before are now joining our rallies. You saw what happened in Kisii. Simbarati went to State House. And eventually when we went to Kisii, he had to join our meeting there. And when the matter came up, the crowd, his own crowd that he had mobilized, was against the idea of going to State House. So you are going to, with the time, as we go to regions, you are going to see.
But honestly, you know, from a point of view as a Kenyan, what would be so wrong in just going to State House as a leader who's meeting the head of state? What would be so wrong in that?
Well, if it is a purely a development issue that is well structured, it is every right for a member of parliament to go there, even me. If it is a serious issue about development of my county, I'll be there. But if it is an issue of playing politics, playing to the gallery, photo session, that is unacceptable. Of a president who is supposed to unite the country, who understands that every Kenyan is a taxpayer, and therefore it is legal for that Kenyan to receive development without begging.
Senator Sigi?
Yes, my colleague is double speak. He is speaking hot and cold on one issue by the same mouth. He is on the one hand saying, we will punish those legislators who go to State House. And he's admitting that if it is purely on a development issue, he would as well go. And we have said here times without number that the reason as to why these leaders are going is because they have been given a mandate by the people of Kenya to represent them. As to whether or not Kenya Kwanza went out during its economic forum platforms, reaching out to the Kenyans, that was across the country. It is a representation of exactly the same thing that the president and his team is doing. Whereas there are leaders who are willing to come and sit down and say, look, Mr. President, you came to my county. They came to Bomet County during the campaign period. We had a robust session with leaders across the board where we enumerated the issues, the projects, the programs that we would want the Kenya Kwanza government to do should they get into power. We have followed those projects, not on one, not on two, but on more than 2 occasions where we are going and telling the president, look, we sat down, our people spoke, and they said that these are the priority items that we are supposed to do. And that is not an issue to say the same person who also participated in the economic forum in Busia County cannot go to the president and say, look, this was the conversation. You can only sit down
now the argument
and continue
is
planning.
The allocation of funds doesn't
Yes.
happen at State House, it happens in Parliament.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there because I wanted to lay the foundation of why is it that it is not proper to say if it is about development, I can go. If it's about politics, I cannot go. And we have said it is development. Development happens in politics. Governments are set up by political vehicles. Without politics, we do not have a government. So whatever sitting that we have with the head of state is about development. Legislation and revenue sharing happens in Parliament. That is true. Oversight, being the role of legislators, both the National Assembly and the Senate have a role to oversight the executive. It happens in the Senate. And that is why we are saying you cannot purport to say the people who've gone to be in bed as they use with the government of the day are not doing what they are supposed to do. It is purely politics on their part. And that is why he is also exposing the naivety in their political strategy. Where you go down to Kisumu, you have summoned one of your members, he is supposed to appear before a disciplinary committee, and you are displaying that ignorance and naivety in how to deal with it by asking the people, did you send so-and-so to State House for your projects? And now using it as against the members. Remember in ODM, it is true what you said, Zainab, that as the same case like Jubilee where they are already rebels, ODM also has rebels. The Honorable, I think, Ochanda and Jalango have said we are leading the rebel group in ODM because we want to liberate the people. They are looking at liberation. They are saying we've been put in so much for this period of time. And we're just waiting to see how this one unfolds. But the bottom line, and this is the bottom line, Zainab, is that there is absolutely no mistake, no problem by a member elected by the people to go out of his way to reach out so that he can enhance service delivery, development of various projects to his people. And believe you me, and this is what we have said, Kenya Kwanza government is barely 5 months into office. Whatever projects which...
But they have been put, into task to explain. They say there are a number of things that they're going to help Kenyans in terms, for example, cost of living. But
yes.
Kenyans are still billing hard on the same.
Yes. Me and you are Kenyans of goodwill. We participate in what happens on a daily basis. The president has, for the last 3 months, been saying, look, we inherited a government that didn't have resources. We inherited a government that even us were not in the store because there was nothing to eat. Now, what is happening is to rebuild that which we are doing. And that is why the government said, look, we are going to cut off almost 300 billion out of this financial year expenses in order to make sure that we enhance the ability of the government to sustain its demands. And that is what they are doing. I was saying 5 months into office, there are certain things that have happened towards rehabilitating the economic status of this country. And among the projects which have been lying idle, one of the things that last week, I think the CS representing, I think, roads and infrastructure was saying, we will facilitate contractors to go back on site because they'll be paid what they have not been paid for the last 2 years, because instead of paying contractors to do the project that they had been given, the then government diverted resources to BBI, to campaigns and the handshake, leading to where we are now. So it will definitely take some few more months to unlock the situation that we are in, but there is, I'm sure, going to be a positive trend on things happening. Well, I only would wish my colleague would allow the rest of us to unite as Kenyans and to focus so that when we get to the floor of the House, we deal with serious issues, we put aside the politics. If they are confused as a coalition, they sort their in-house politics, they come to the floor of the House, we debate, we pass legislation, we support Kenyans, we release funds to the counties for development to happen to the people of Kenya.
Let's hear from Mheshimiwa Elachi.
Well, one, we are not confused. In fact, we are the ones who make parliament to be parliament. Let me just tell my senior counsel and senator that, by the way, in terms of debate and everything, we need each other. We come out very clear on why we would wish the country to move. You see, if we accepted as this country that our constitution is a presidential system, and we just let the institutions work the way this constitution wanted, today Parliament would have been very vibrant. We would not have given our powers into the executive, into the judiciary. Look at now the US. Right now, in the Congress, the Republicans are the majority. Have they decided the US will go into a crunch? No. They are working with the president to make it work. And how I wish, without doing all these things we have done, because we complain here, yet we have this UDM that used the former prime minister's name to campaign, and they just walked away, and nobody questioned, nobody did anything. Then now we are coming, that is when the rain started beating us, that we could not even discipline those who are in our own coalition to tell them it was wrong, and go to even the tribunal the way Fatuma has done. I wish we did that as Azimio, because they needed to have paid back what they had used so that you move. And it has to be a lesson to many political coalitions going forward. It is wrong. You can work with a government wherever you are. I don't need to go, but I will look at what is the best interest for Kenya, for my country, for my people. By the way, the first thing that comes when you are a political leader is the interest of your people. Yeah, you can even find yourself in loggerheads with a political party for the interest of your people. But at the same time, if there's one person who I respect, who gives you freedom in democracy and to do what you want, is one person, the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. He does. The only thing and the only mistake of the members is, why can't you just brief him? We shall be going today to meet the president. These are our agendas. And you go. And when you come back from there, and when you are even there, you tell the president, we have informed our party leader that we are here on purposes of 1, 2. You do your brief, you come back and brief him. These are the issues that came out.
Then what could be the issue? Is there a lack of understanding on how things are transacted in terms of that?
Lack of understanding. And it can be disrespectful also. Even them, they cannot be in the party of UDA and just decide today just to go without informing, surely. So I think where the bond of contention is there a way we can respect our party leaders? And if you're going to do development, just sit all of you together, engage and agree in this region, just the way the CAS did. Have we talked about the CAS? No. Have we condemned them? No. They have gone, they have spoken, they will go many times. And that is what we all have to do. Just respect the party leader. Explain to him this is going to happen. He should not see you on social media. And I think that is what he felt very painful. He should not just see you. And so the best is not to continue pulling it and this. The best is to go sit down with him and just through the mechanisms of the party. You also ask, I believe there were others who went to Kisimu. They told him, and they asked for forgiveness, and I think he forgave. So I don't think he wants to do also double standards on his children. The best is just agree, going forward, explain it to the party leader. Yes.
But as elected leaders, do they need to seek forgiveness from their party leader?
It's not. It's just respect. I mean, honestly, it's just that respect.
Okay.
I'm not saying it is you with your electorate. And I think the party leader allowed everything to happen in Nyanza. And it happened. It has happened in Western. The president went to Western, met the leaders. He's allowed the governors. The day the governors will carry his whole county, will we start beating on them? No. They have gone as leaders of that county, and that is why this constitution is very distinct. And that is why we have IBEC. And so who will the governor sit with? They'll have to sit with the president, the deputy president, to agree. And so if today the governor of Nairobi or whatever moves with his team, we shall be going specifically.
So you're saying it's an unfair charge to say that Azimio looks confused, looks disorganized?
Yes, it is. Okay. We are not. I am not confused. Okay. And I am not disorganized, by the way. Yeah. Right. I think I'm very clear what I want. I know I have to go to knock doors, and I want to request the CSS also. Okay. Let us not have it now make it very political, because this constitution is a constitution we accepted as the Americans. You will never hear a Democrat saying he cannot go to USAID for anything. He will go as an American and wanting to get something from that institution. Okay. Let us make it that way. Then let us put the politics of parties within our parties. Okay. But for now, let us respect also this constitution. You agreed, you have majority and minority. You agreed to work like Americans. Can we do that?
All right.
Yes.
Senator Sotse.
Well, let me just inform my sister here, Etachi, that, you know, Honorable Raila has spoken. He spoke to us in Manzoni and gave directives about how we are supposed to engage
just say the president.
Ruto government.
Just say the president.
The legitimate government of Ruto. And you do not need any further direction from him on that, because it has been communicated. But aside from that, let me repeat my point, that all these things you are hearing about development, it's just politics. Because I have said here a few minutes ago that Kenya Kwanza pre-election conducted what we call bottom-up conferences, economic conferences. They engage the people, they engage the leaders on their side, and they have a list of programs which they want implemented. They don't need, again, to restart the process. They just need to do the job. Let me give you an example. In my region, they signed an agreement with Ford Kenya and the ANC to do a number of things. They said 30% of government positions will be allocated to the region. They talked about 1,000 kilometers of tarmac road. They talked about full revival of Mumias Sugar Company, Pan Paper, all those things they have gone silent about.
But remember, this is a government that when they got into power said that things do not look good financially, economically speaking.
No, they are in power now. Right? Remember that question arose even during the campaigns. And they said they have a way of doing it. So let them just do it. Let them not use Uhuru Kenyatta's government as an excuse of not delivering. They said they will do it. They have a way of doing it. You remember they even talked about restructuring of debt within 3 months. They have not done that.
Well, this is interesting. But look, this is what we have on Taifa Leo. This is what is happening in Parliament, but it says Uhuru alifagia pesa kistaafu. Well, Parliament, wabunge wameanzisha kuchunguza madai kwamba serikali ya Rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta ilitumia bilioni 55 bila idhini ya bunge miezi miwili kabla ya kiongozi huyo kuondoka mamlakani mnamo September 13 last year. So this is, you know, something that is also coming out in this conversation.
The same, that is, I think, expenditure under 223, Article 223. The same is also affecting the current regime. Remember, they have put money, a lot of money into the Hustler Fund thing without the approval of Parliament. So it is normal that sometimes the state spends money and then comes back later to seek approval. So it is both ways. The Uhuru government spent money those last days, and also Kenya Kwanza government has spent a lot of money within the 3 months they have been there. and Parliament is called upon to either approve or reject.
All right. So,
well,
yes, Mheshimiwa.
I didn't want to argue with my senator, and I think, as he says, yes. But you see, and I want to repeat, and that's why I said, if there's one person who I believe respects democracy on people, is one, the Right Honorable His Excellency Raila. Baba will say, and he will repeat, but at the same time, there's one question that came out very clear, which nobody answered that question. Because for us, why I resigned when I was Speaker is to have a stand. And I think it is time we have to decide what we really want. Because we cannot confuse ourselves also. And it was also, and he answered. And that's why I'm saying that question was answered very well. That we work, but knowing very well we have our parties, we have what we believe in. But because, let's say, for example, in the National Assembly, all our lawyers, good lawyers, are from our side, by the way. Yes, we have others from the other side, yes. But they come together as lawyers to look at issues that are affecting the National Assembly.
Okay.
And the question now will be, some of these things are very critical. If we go into our parties, then they are not supposed even to be doing that work. But they do it for the National Assembly. And that's why we said, you have to balance. Honestly, we cannot, and that's why I said, we have to, and I remember even my minority party leader asking that question, that we must accept. We have a presidential system, and if we want to work the way people want to work, we go back to a parliamentary system. So we have a presidential system where sometimes the line is so thin. It's so thin. We can't be the one, you know.
That's honestly another conversation I think we should have. And we're running out of time, Mheshimiwa.
Yes, and now the CASes as we lock out. Yeah, the CASes.
Senator Sigei, 10 seconds, just for fairness, 10 seconds.
Well, thank you. What I would say is that, well, the shortest mammal with the gestation period, I think, is a mouse. A gestation period is the period between conception of pregnancy and giving birth. A mouse has got, I think, between 16 to 19 days. The longest one is an elephant. Elephant over 22 months. What I'm trying to say is that the government of Kenya Kwanza is barely 5 months into its pregnancy. Even a child.
But there should be some tangible results according to Kenyans,
we have at least seen
we saw some Kenyans being
signs of
arrested
pregnancy.
outside Parliament.
At least give us the benefit. We have seen some signs of pregnancy, and therefore we are expecting that birth, which will definitely come within the right time.
All right, and I think we'll continue to monitor.
The best for the Kenyans.
We'll have to continue to monitor that pregnancy, and hopefully it will be a good birth. Right, Mheshimiwa Elachi?
No,
definitely.
Okay, look, I would wish, as I said, anything that is good for the country, nobody can refuse. Let's work that way. Let's respect why people believed in a person from this party and this party. It's important.
Political parties aside, let's work for Kenyans.
Not just aside. Also, they have to respect why people voted for people within this party. Respect the people's choice, but they will work for the benefit of their people.
All right, thank you so much.
For the CASes, I would wish to say,
we've run out of time.
The process. Let us be now honest on this also. Some of these things, by the way, I would wish the courts will also appreciate our constitution. Some of these things you leave for the head of state to deal with it. Because even if we go through this process, they will still deal with it. So why? Why do we waste all these processes?
All right, we are being kicked out of the studio. Thank you, Beatrice Elachi, Dagoretti North Member of Parliament, Hilary Sigei, Senator Bomet County, as well as Godfrey Osotsi, Vihiga County Senator. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, for this conversation. I think there's so much we're here to touch on, including that issue of the CAS fighting the political cold. We did not manage to actually have that conversation, but hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next couple of days. Thank you so much for watching. Your World with Winnie Lubembe is coming up shortly. You don't want to miss that. My name is Zainab Ismail. Have yourself a good morning. Hashtag online AM Live NTV at NTV Kenya. Zainab Ismail. Good morning. Good day.